Actionable Books interviews are candid conversations with the world's best business book authors. Here's our next author. Marketing megamind Seth Godin's been busy since we last sat down with him in November of 2009. In the last 24 months, he's written 2 more bestsellers, he's partnered with Amazon to create a new take on publishing, the Domino Project, and he's hosted multiple live events at his office in Hastings-on-the-Hudson, New York. Plus, he's added 522 new posts to SethGodin.com, one of the world's most trafficked business blogs. This is round 2 with the inspirational Seth Godin. We are back for another installment of actually the final formal installment of the From the Horse's Mouth author interview series. It's been 2 years of monthly author interviews, and I thought it fitting. We started with Seth, and now we are back with the one and only Seth Godin. And Seth, thanks so much for being the bookends on this series.
It's always a pleasure.
It's been one. I got to tell you, from a personal standpoint, when we first sat down, we were talking about Linchpin, which had just come out. It was my first sort of introduction. I hadn't read any Dan Pink stuff yet. I didn't get what you were talking about. I remember one of the points in the interview you were saying, maybe big's not our goal. Maybe we should be focused on being small. And I was going, who is this guy? What's he talking? I get it now, Seth. It's been a 2-year pilgrimage, and I love it. So thank you for being the introducer to a lot of those concepts.
Well, you know, you've really shaken things up, and you're leading people, and the connections you make matter.
Thank you. I appreciate that. To catch up, if you haven't seen the first interview, we caught up with Seth just after the release of Linchpin, and you've been busy since. When I talked to you, you said Linchpin was the last book you had in your head at the time. There's been 2 books since that in the last 2 years. Talk about that. Poke the box.
All right. Well, you know, this is also probably not the last video you're making, I'm betting. I didn't know how to write a better traditional book than Linchpin in terms of 300 pages long, $29.95, sold in the bookstore, big roundup, 1.5 years before you come out with it, the whole thing. It exhausted me, and I saw the writing on the wall for the future of the book industry. And I said, why am I going through all these hoops to bring an idea to people who I already reach every day?
Right.
So it was the last traditional book, at least for now. But I've been pestering Amazon for 15 years about taking advantage of their real asset, which is connection to the customer, to do publishing, because the hard part of publishing is connecting customers, which Amazon does every day.
Right.
So they called my bluff after all these years, and they said, go do it. So I started this company called the Domino Project. We've done 10 books. We've had 10 bestsellers.
Awesome.
And I wrote 2 of them. They're booklets more than they're books.
Yeah.
And they are supposed to deliver an idea to my readers in a form that lets my readers give it to their friends. So that shift is huge. Because I'm not saying to a stranger in a bookstore, pick me, pick me. I'm saying to people who already like my work, here's 50 of them, go hand them out.
And it's been a fascinating path to see, because your books obviously tie into that. But it really, I mean, it seems to be the theme of the Domino Project is that the books that have been in there have carried that same sort of theme, where here's one clear message, share it, and lots of neat ways of doing that, which has been cool. What was it like getting into the corporate sponsorship idea of the book publications? I mean, because some of them are wildly successful.
Yeah, my stated intent was to fail often, to do interesting things that publishers were afraid of so they could steal the ideas that worked.
Right.
Well, we had several huge ideas. The biggest, most successful idea was, if the marginal cost of an extra copy is 0, which it is for a Kindle book, give it away. But if you give it away, how does the author get paid? Well, the answer is attention is worth something. So we went to sponsors like Spotify and General Electric and Ibex and said, we'll put an ad in the front of this book and a thank you, NPR style, and you'll reach really busy people who can't be reached any other way. And the ones that we gave away for free all became instant bestsellers, hundreds of thousands of those distributed, a whole different way to think about what it is to make a book.
Yeah, but I like what you did there, because you mentioned NPR, and I mean, you're taking a brand new delivery method and a new idea on the publishing world, but inserting or integrating an aspect of something that's been around for a very long time.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So, do you have a team you're working with at Domino, or is this mostly you?
Well, I wanted to keep myself honest and to push hard at the beginning. So I opened it up as a paid internship, brought I think 7 or 8 people into the office for 6 months, paid them every day. Clearly in an internship, there's a long ramp up and a wind down. So I did a lot of the strategizing, but I met some really cool people who worked on the project. It ended in June, and since then it's just been me.
You have a great habit of meeting really cool people through these seemingly short spurts of intense Seth sessions with the Alternative MBA and a couple of the programs you've been running lately. You have your office flooded with people, and then you're in isolation again. Is there a logic to that madness, or is that just you getting...
I used to help run a summer camp in Canada. Right. And it's been my dream ever since to run a summer camp in Canada.
This is the equivalent in the publishing
world? Well, a summer camp is 40 weeks of preparation and 12 weeks of insanity.
Right.
And I really grooved to that because I love the notion of getting ready to put on a show. I love the excitement of being completely present and totally on. And I understand that if I did that every day, I would melt. Sure. So it has to come to an end. I also think there's a lot to be said for projects. I told all these people that it was going to last 6 months, and they were somewhat surprised 5.5 months into it when I said, we have 2 weeks left. But I meant it. And you know, you need long-term gigs when you have a factory, when you have a building.
Yes.
But impresarios and projects and events and conferences and 2-year video sessions should come to an end.
Yep.
And there's a deliciousness and a sadness to the end. Yep. You know, I never like saying goodbye. I'm bad at it. At the end of these things, I say to everybody, so long, and I leave. I'm just not good at that part.
Well, so I don't know if you knew this or not, but when I was in town, I was at one of the sessions. It was a fantastic experience. I brought copies of the DVD of the first interviews we'd done, and I left about 12 copies truly accidentally under the table. I went back, I think 4 minutes after the door closed, and it was locked, and you were gone. So it was, he lives what he speaks. So those copies are free for you to do with as you please.
Thank
absolutely.
You. I thought they were a leave-behind gift. I enjoyed them.
It was not intentional. So Domino is still going. It's coming to an end. Where are you at with this?
We'll see.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so when I look at We Are All Weird, which I loved, by the way, Poke the Box, which was fantastic. I liked We Are All Weird more than Poke the Box, personal style. I don't know.
They're very different books.
They are very different books, but there seems to be a theme for me, which is this idea of celebrating individuality. I mean, you killed it in the keynote today at the Art of Sales. This is got the socks. There's a lot about the power of individuality. This isn't new for you, but is this something that you've put more thought into lately, the power of the individual versus the power of the corporation?
Yeah, I've been trying to wrestle with what does this revolution mean. And I think we should stop calling it the internet revolution, start calling it the connection revolution, because connection is all we're really creating. Yeah. Well, if you think about what that does to corporations, it threatens them. And if you think about what it does to individuals, it empowers them. Because connection is something only humans are good at.
Is it a volume thing as well, do you think, where GE looks at it and goes, man, we interact with millions of people every day, we couldn't possibly, whereas the small guy goes, I got 60 customers, I can connect with them personally. Do you think that factors
Yeah, I don't think that people at big corporations ever say, we couldn't possibly.
Right.
I don't think that's part of the DNA.
I hope not.
I think that people at big corporations say, how do I control this?
Okay.
And they can't.
Now, do the people
they don't
at the
like
corporation say that? Or
yeah.
Is that, okay. And do you think that's just part of the DNA of rising up in the corporate culture?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so I want to talk to you, as you know, we're big on making things actionable. So drawing from the theory of the last 3 books, if we look at that as sort of a set from Linchpin through to We Are All Weird, for an employee in that corporate environment,
sure,
watching this, what's an actionable takeaway that you can give them? I don't want a map, I want a starting point for them.
Yeah, well, you know, I was sitting with someone I respect a lot who had just gone to work for a 100-person NGO in a country I will not name. And 6 weeks into it, the president of the company fired her. I was thrilled. That has never, ever happened before in my experience.
You were thrilled. How did
she was great. It changed her life for the better. Provocateur shows up, treats people with respect, puts big ideas on the table, outlines how things can move forward. CEO is threatened, you're fired. Never happens. Okay. Right? The fact that it happened once proves it never happens.
Right.
And so the person in the corporation who's been busy telling themselves that they shouldn't speak up, that they shouldn't make connections, that they shouldn't organize a lunch, that they shouldn't figure out interesting ways to fail, that they shouldn't create test beds, that they shouldn't build alternative interactions because they're going to get fired, that person needs to say to themselves, it happened once. It's not going to happen to me. They're all the way over here. They can go all the way this far before they get even in a little trouble. And if you look at who moves up in organizations, the people who move up are not the ones who do what they're told every day.
Yep.
the ones with the great parking spaces and the expense accounts and everything else, got there by learning by failing. So no, there is no map, but the first step is really obvious, which is, when are you going to start doing something at which you can be ridiculed for, something at which you can have a demonstrable failure? Because if you're not doing those things, you're not learning.
Right. I think it's one of my favorite taglines from your bio. I think it's a bio or an old quote about you when you said, you know, I've started, I don't know how many dozens of businesses or whatnot, and most of them have failed.
Correct.
And to put that boldly in a tagline, and Seth's had a lot of successes along the way as well, I think speaks to that. Okay, let's flip the coin. Let's talk about from the manager perspective. You've got a team of 5, 10, 15, 100 underneath you or working with you. What's the first thing that the manager can do to encourage that type of behavior?
Love this question. We didn't practice this at all. Did we practice this? This is really simple.
Here's your line, by the way.
This is really simple. You say you want innovation. You say you want people to poke the box. And yet, every month, the employee of the month, and yet every person that you reward are people who haven't failed. So you're lying. If you're serious about this, you need to celebrate and promote failures. You need to say to someone, as I did, one of my senior people, if you don't have a significant failure in 90 days, you're fired. And I'm going to fire you in front of everyone in the company. Because all you have to do is do that once, and then you're on your way to having innovative people.
You heard it here first. I love it. Short and sweet. Seth, is there anything else? We'll speak again, I'm sure, on camera, but anything in the meantime, just something you're dying to tell people watching this? A lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of intrapreneurs, people who just want to make a difference. Any parting remarks?
You know, I've been thinking a lot about this whole notion of how much research you need to do before you start. And there's too many people who are doing too much research and not enough people who are doing failing. And so before you buy my next book or the next book you recommend or the next book you write, go fail first and then go buy a book. But I think we need, you know, one of the best side effects of Twitter is that you discover you can tweet something stupid and you're still here the next day, right? And you need to take it outside of Twitter. You need to make it bigger than 140 characters. You need to do something in the world that gets feedback.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time, Seth.
Thank you, guys.
Great.
A pleasure.
Cheers.